So hello and welcome. I'm the minister here at Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church. We're so happy to have you with us this morning. As we begin our service, I invite you to silence your phone. I haven't done that on my phone yet, so I just did. And then to take a deep breath as we center ourselves for worship. Raise your hand if you really needed that deep breath after a busy week. Yeah. We open and welcome to the ancestral people of this land, acknowledging that our church, like all of Burke, rests on the unceded territory of the Manahoac tribe of the Great Sioux Nation. We seek healing and the realization of justice for the people of this land who live on and their descendants, the present-day members of the Monacan Indian Nation, the Patawomic Indian Tribe of Virginia, and the Piscataway Indian Nation. We honor the ancestors as we move toward healing so that all together shall one day know full justice. I noticed as I was saying those words that I say every Sunday that I wanted to put my arms up like this. Yes. So for those of you who were here last week, this is the Arant, and this is a symbol of our chalice in our body and of reciprocity, of giving and receiving. So that's what we want to do with the ancestral people of this land and their descendants, and that's what we want to do throughout our life in general as well. So we have a special service today. So I just want to let you know that we have this ensemble service put on by our Green Sanctuary Committee, as well as myself, who's worked closely with them, and we're so excited to celebrate Earth Day today with you in that way. All are welcome here in this justice-seeking, earth-healing community of faith. You are welcome no matter whom you love, no matter your identity or heritage, no matter your beliefs or background, no matter your means or abilities. You are welcome here in this spiritual community. We're going to say our chalice lighting words together, and we have a slide this week for you in case you need it, although I hope you're starting to get to know it by now. So, and you might want to put your arms up in that Arant position. So we light our chalice to these words from our mission statement. Together we pledge to care in community. Together we pledge to grow in spirit. Together we pledge to act for justice.
Hi, I'm Joanne Flanagan, and I help to make these leaves that you all have and crayons to color them. I bet that a lot of people know what kind of leaf this is. Oak leaf, specifically a white oak leaf, because white oaks support more nature in our area than any other kind of organism. More than 500 species white oaks support. And we thought we should start being more like white oaks and support a lot of nature around us. So on your oak leaf, you see some projects that you could do at home or here at Accotink. One is to have a pot and put some pollinator flowers in there. And the bees and the butterflies near your balcony or your front stoop would love you for that. You could convert part of your lawn into a pollinator garden, and you'd have less lawn to mow and water and fertilize and weed. And that would be another wonderful thing for nature around us. You could become a tree rescuer, which is a person like Bruce here at our garden. My mic has gone out, so I'll talk louder. Bruce Griffin, who takes vines, noxious vines off of our trees, because those vines kill trees in our area. And Fairfax County has a goal to increase our tree canopy. Or you could plant a native tree. And right now, the state is offering discounts on trees for you to plant natives. So please color your leaf and bring it back in and mount it on our oak tree here. We're going to have this through the fall to keep track of all the projects that we're all doing.
So we have a short reading from Suzanne Simard, who wrote the book, Finding the Mother Tree. We have the power to shift course. It is our disconnectedness and lost understanding about the capacities of nature that's driving a lot of our despair. And plants, in particular, are objects of our abuse. By understanding their sentient qualities, our empathy and love for trees, plants, and forests will naturally deepen and find innovative solutions. Turning to the intelligence of nature itself is the key. It's up to each and every one of us. Connect with the plants you can call your own. If you are in a city, set a pot on your balcony. If you have a yard, start a garden or join a community plot. Here's a simple and profound action you can take right now. Go find a tree, your tree. Imagine linking her network, connecting to other trees nearby. Open your senses.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I want to tell you a little bit about my experience with trees and also this wonderful book by Suzanne Simard, Finding the Mother Tree. One of the most moving experiences I ever had was when we visited Northern California long ago with my husband, and we visited a grove of ancient redwoods. And I had never seen the redwoods before, but it was one of the most magical experiences that I've ever had. The sunlight is filtered because you're standing in this grove that looks like a cathedral, and I could feel the presence and wisdom of these ancient beings. The forest was soft and comforting, and I felt a deep connection to these trees. And every time I hear some threat to them, it really hurts my heart. So you're going to learn a lot today about what you can do to support trees and to support our environment. Trees might actually be way more similar to us than we ever realized. In this book, Finding the Mother Tree, Suzanne Simard describes her groundbreaking research showing that trees can communicate with each other and they can respond to the environment. Ancient mother trees can even recognize and care for their own offspring. In a healthy forest, a symbiotic underground fungal network serves as a kind of a neural net for trees, and Suzanne Simard even uses the word intelligence to describe these interactions. Her research shows that a forest is not just a collection of trees. It's a nurturing community. The common view is that trees are just mindlessly competing with each other, and that's not true. These mother trees provide nutrients and other support for the smaller trees around them, helping the whole forest community to thrive. In fact, a healthy forest community is similar to a healthy church community. So how can we become more like these amazing mother trees in our environment, at home, at church, and in the larger community? Well, as Joanne and Rev Lev have already mentioned, there are some really important things that we can do. And the things that the theme this month is resistance. There are things that we need to resist. We need to resist the common ideas that we need a huge, beautiful, lush lawn. That has no ecological benefit for our flower, for our fauna, our pollinators. It's not useful. So convert part of your lawn to a wildflower garden with native plants. If that's way too much for you, plant one native plant. And, plant a small garden. Do something. You can help remove invasive vines, and Joanne will have lots of advice for you on that kind of thing. You can also help out with the native garden here, and Dale will talk later about the food garden that's being planned here at church. So together, we can help make our community a healthy forest. So early in her book, Simard says her book is not about how we can save the trees, but it's about how the trees can save us.
I'm happy to share with you today a story called Farmer Will Allen and the Growing Table. This is written by Jacqueline Briggs Martin, and it's illustrated by Eric Shabazz Larkin. I'm going to just move over here so I can see the screen. Farmer Will Allen is as tall as his truck. Oh, thank you. He can hold a cabbage or a basketball in one hand. When he laughs, everyone laughs, glad to be in his crew. When he talks, everyone listens. But some say the special things about Will Allen is that he can see what others can't see. Are they right? When he looked at an abandoned city lot and saw a huge table heaped with food, he was right. Was he right? When Will Allen was a boy, bowls of peas, greens, and his favorite, lima beans with ham, covered the kitchen table. My mother often fixed enough food for 30, Will says. We never had a car or a TV, but we always had good food. He remembers people who'd come to dinner tired and dropped and leave laughing. Will's family grew most of their food, but hated the work. He planned to quit planting, picking, pulling weeds, leave those Maryland fields for basketball or white shirt work. And he did. He graduated from college and moved to Belgium to play professional basketball. When a Belgian friend asked him to help dig potatoes, Will realized he loved digging in the dirt. He grew so much food that he and his wife Cindy covered their kitchen table with Thanksgiving dinner for a team of basketball friends. When Will was done with basketball, he worked a white shirt job in Wisconsin and found time to grow vegetables on Cindy's parents' land. But Will wanted his own place. He'd seen that fresh vegetables were as scarce in the city as trout in the desert. Will believed everyone everywhere had a right to good food. But how could Will farm in the middle of pavement and parking lots? One day, driving in Milwaukee, Will spotted 6 empty greenhouses on a plot of land about the size of a large supermarket for sale. He could see kids who'd never eaten a ripe tomato, never crunched a raw green bean, sitting at his table eating his vegetables. Will Allen bought that city lot. Will had a start on his table. He had the land, but the table was empty. The problem was Will's soil, dirty with chemicals and pollution. He had no money for machines to dig out the bad soil, for truckloads of good soil. What to do? In Belgium, Will had learned to make good soil with food garbage. They called it composting, but he needed lots of garbage. He asked his friends to save food waste, apple peels to old zucchinis. Will collected those scraps in big white buckets and dumped them into piles. He added hay, leaves, newspapers, red wiggler water. Every now and then, he turned the piles to get air into the mix. Neighborhood kids stopped by to ask what he was doing. Will told them about the piles and the red wiggler worms that would help the garbage become compost. The kids came back day after day to help. Then one day, bad news. The red wiggler crew was dying. Will and the kids studied worms for 5 years. They learned not to feed the worms too much, and they discovered the menu for the red wigglers. No hot peppers, onions, and garlic. Lots of watermelon rinds, sweet potato scraps, and molasses. Since then, the squirmy crew has stayed hard at work. Will says worm magic is what makes his farm grow. Once Will had good soil, he was ready to plant vegetables. But he didn't have much space. How could he grow enough food on a small city plot? Will Allen looked around. He saw that he had all the space from the soil under his feet to the top of the greenhouses. He hung plant baskets from the ceiling. He grew greens in buckets, greens in rows. He crowded shelves with pots of spinach, chard, lettuce. He grew stacks of tiny salad sprouts in boxes, hundreds of boxes. Will added hoop houses to hold more boxes and more long rows of vegetables. He added vats of water and fish to his greenhouses. Fish wastewater grows the sprouts. The sprouts clean the water for the fish. Fish, water, sprouts work together like a three-part machine. He added goats, chickens, turkeys, and bees to that city farm he named Growing Power. Farmer Will's work clothes are jeans and a blue sweatshirt with cut-off sleeves. He is busy from early morning to night. Still, one person could never grow all the food Will wanted to grow. Where could he find more farmers in the middle of the city? Will Allen looked all around. He saw teenagers, school children, parents, grandparents. He taught them to be farmers. Then Will's table held as much as several supermarkets, thousands of pounds of food. Neighbors who live in high-rises far off the growing ground came and still come to Will's farm to buy fresh vegetables, fish, or eggs. People have gone and still go to fancy restaurants to eat Will's food. But Will wanted his table to feed folks all over the world. How could he build one huge table that crossed continents? Will thought about the problem of the world-sized table. He looked around and saw his many helpers who'd learned to be farmers. He would teach people to grow food for their own tables everywhere. Will Allen began to travel. He had crisscrossed the United States showing others how to farm in the city. And he has taken his red wigglers to Kenya, to London, all over the world. The world has also come to his Milwaukee farm. 20,000 visitors a year tour the greenhouses, watch goats, snack on greens, and go home planning to start a farm on a city lot, rooftop, or abandoned highway. Is Will Allen done? Never. We need 50 million more people growing food on porches, in pots, in side yards, he says. Will is always looking for new ways to make the table bigger. More schoolyard plots, a vertical farm that's 5 stories high, farms and empty factories or warehouses. Will Allen dreams of a day when city farms are as common as streetlights and every table is covered with good food. Can Will Allen see what others can't see? When he sees kids, he sees farmers. Will you be on Will Allen's crew? Will you grow vegetables for your family, your neighbors, on your porch, or roof, or yard? How big will your table be?
Good morning. I want to be Farmer Will for this church. I am passionate about growing food and using it to provide social justice. Even though Fairfax is one of the most affluent counties in the U.S., there are still over 70,000 residents that are food insecure and approximately 60,000 school children that qualify for free meals in our school system. Based on USDA data, over 10% of the population of the U.S. experiences some form of food insecurity throughout the year. A corollary to this food insecurity is the poor quality of the nutrition consumed. Too often the foods that are consumed are lacking in fresh vegetables and ergo key nutrition. In the last decade, there is a renewed interest in gardening, which may be due in part to the local food movement. Locavores, a word I didn't know before I started doing this research, defined as people who make an effort to eat food that is grown, raised, or produced locally, are interested in having greater access to healthy, high-quality food, knowing where their food comes from, and supporting the environment and the local economy. Gardening certainly fits the bill, and what could be better than growing food locally for food insecure or nutritionally impoverished residents of our county? Now I'm going to pivot a bit and give you a brief history of gardening from my perspective. Archaeologists have found evidence of fava beans cultivated in Egypt about 12,000 years ago, one of the earliest known examples of gardening. I find it emblematic that fava beans are among the first known cultivated vegetables, as they will grow anywhere in a wide range of soils, are very nutritious, and as a legume, capture nitrogen from the air and return it to the soil. In short, they do it all. Numerous American indigenous cultures grew maize and many other vegetables. Near where I grew up in north central Pennsylvania, the Seneca tribe of the Iroquois Confederacy grew and preserved the three sisters, corn, bean, and squash, for centuries before the arrival of Europeans. The Iroquois Confederacy was a powerful alliance, mostly because of the security provided by the copious amounts of food they grew and preserved. Early settlers were dependent on what they grew, fished, or hunted for their survival. Hunting and fishing requires skill, dexterity, and luck. Whereas the crops they grew were easier to plant and nurture and provided a more reliable source of calories. During World War I and World War II, people in the United States and around the world planted victory gardens. These vegetables, fruits, and herb gardens provided private citizens with nourishment during times of war and helped free up resources for the war effort. The gardens demonstrated patriotism and provided the gardeners with a sense of fulfillment in uncertain times. By the start of the 20th century, many people in the US were living in urban areas and increasingly consumed commercially grown food. After World War II, our society industrialized virtually all of our food production system. While this approach provided vast amounts of low-cost food to many people, it has been harmful to the land and is carbon intensive. Some farmers have realized the problem with this system and are reverting to a more sustainable means of food production. However, significant changes take time, and meanwhile, we have ongoing food insecurity and increased carbon levels that affect us all. In the past 2 decades, urban farmers such as Will Allen, Leah Penniman of the Soul Fire Farm, Ron Finley, and countless others have addressed the food desert issues of many cities through vacant lots, rooftop, and even parkway median gardens. These innovative people are implementing creative ways to grow fresh, healthy, and nutritious food, with the gardens located in or near the food deserts. Still, much remains to be done. A food garden for our church would be a small but very significant step in the right direction. Gardening as nutrition for the body and the soul. Unfortunately, modern life is too much about being indoors. Gardening gives us a purpose for being outdoors with our hands in the soil, breathing fresh air, and accomplishing something tangible. There are many ways that gardening helps you interact and appreciate nature. Not only are we outside for gardening, but gardening connects us with nature's cycle. And for me personally, gardening brings me joy, and that it grounds me and nourishes my soul. Exercise, community, and the occasional graze. While gardening is adaptable to either a solitary or a team effort, it is a great community project, especially since I hope to use a food garden as an opportunity to pass on food gardening knowledge to others, particularly the young. It is also a good opportunity to get some low-stress exercise and stretching. We will get to monitor the daily progression of the fruits of our efforts, pun intended, with the grand prize being the harvest. One of my favorite things to do in the garden is to graze. There is nothing better than eating veggies fresh off the vine. Yes, we are growing food for the food insecure, but we also need to sample at times as a quality check. I look forward to working in the food garden next spring with all that are interested. In closing, I want to tout the book Farming While Black by Leah Penniman. It contains cultural and historical information that was very enlightening to me, and also talks a lot about advocacy. But what most impressed me is that it is a great gardening tech guide. It tells you all sorts of things from a technical standpoint. I will loan my copy to anyone that would like to borrow it. Thank you.
In closing, don't forget to check the This Week email for a link to give you details about how to do a wildlife supporting project, and then bring back your leaf anytime between now and the end of the fall.
And I love oak trees, but I also love veggies. So make sure you do your veggies as well and bring them back. And we will have, this over here is our poster where we will add the veggies around the outside.
I invite you now to join me in our community blessing with these words of David Bumbaugh. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences and beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity.